And you hear this all the time with, fathers and sons and mothers and daughters. They sometimes have these tendencies. And what we see is the Bible is revealing this, that, you know, Isaac wasn't there when Abraham was like, no, she's my sister. So, but he has this tendency because he is from his father. And that generational pattern of human nature is being passed down. And so I think it's actually amazing that the Bible reveals these things where it's like, yeah, that might sound like the same story, but it's like, remember, Isaac is Abraham's son, like father, like son, you know?
That's beautiful. And think about it. So when I said earlier that Isaac's the ultimate, rabbi's kid, pastor's kid, it's so not easy, but in many ways it's easier to be Abraham than it is to be Isaac, right? Because notwithstanding all the challenges and despite all of the heartache, you're still a trailblazer. The whole world remembers Abraham. I mean, we like when we're trying to be like super polite and geopolitical, like Judaism, Christianity, Islam, the Abrahamic faiths, right? Abraham is known the world over. Isaac is not. I mean, believers know who Isaac is, but Isaac's not nearly as famous as Abraham. And the most famous episode in the life of Isaac is actually a story about Abraham, the binding of Isaac, right? The near sacrifice of Isaac. That's an Abraham story. Isaac's kind of a side character in that. Isaac's challenge is in many ways so much greater than Abraham's, right? To be the rabbi's kid, the pastor's kid. So everyone knows your parent, right? They get all the attention. And oftentimes they'll look at you. You know, my grandfather was a really, really well-known Jewish theologian. He's the greatest American Jewish orator in the history of American Jewry. He was the president of Yeshiva University, which is the flagship Jewish university. Renowned the world over. When people say Rabbi Lamb, they're not talking about me. They're talking about him. And on the one hand, that's a legacy I'm just deeply, deeply, deeply proud of. But there always is something in the back of your head that says, I know I'm never going to be as great as that. I mean, I know I will never be as great as that. And so I'm ultimately just playing for second place. That's a hard thing to swallow. It's a hard pill to swallow,
but
right?
It's also an interesting thing in the sense that, it seems as though, especially in the story of the biting up of Isaac, he's obedient to his father. He doesn't,
and that's it,
kind of take charge. He doesn't go, you know what, like I'm going to do this my way. He fits into the very specific role, which is the son. Yeah. And the son is going to be obedient to the father.
And that's it. Living, in many ways, that's why Isaac is really the greatest hero of all of the patriarchs, because he just lives a quiet, unglamorous life of faith.
Unglamorous, yeah. He had no majesty that we would
everything he did, Abraham already did.
Yeah.
But it was all the more important that Isaac did it, because in some ways, on the one hand, like, you can't have anything without a trailblazer, but if the trailblazer blazes a trail but nobody follows, nobody walks that path, then it was all for nothing. Abraham's entire life is validated by the choices that Isaac makes to imitate him, to mimic him. Because ultimately, Isaac's not going to get the glory, but what's going to ensure that Abraham's glory lasts is Isaac. I mean, faith and goodness is almost always unglamorous. Almost always.
Yeah.
And the challenge we have to pose for ourselves is in those moments where no one's going to applaud and no one's going to know, and it's not going to be on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. In those moments, are you going to choose the right thing? I mean, those are the questions. I mean, those are the questions I struggle with every single day.
Well, I think, Isaac's story is this, it's short and sweet, but it has significant impact.
Yeah.